were married for 26 years. And we have had a daughter together. Raised her in this house. And it's interesting, he had just turned 69 a month earlier, and we'd gone out for our anniversary. The story just like occurred to me. And we were sitting at dinner celebrating our anniversary, and he says to me, you know, I'm not getting any younger, and I feel like I've got maybe a good 10 years left. And the invitation was that in those 10 years that he would really do everything that he wanted to do. So he loved to travel, he loved riding his motorcycle. The possibility that I would stop working for a while, we'd go live in Europe for a couple of months. And I'd been so caught up in my career up to this point, it was like, yeah, I kept putting him off for that big dream. And then that night, it was like I heard him, that he could see, you know, the end and our mortality. And it was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go with you. And then a month later, May 8th, he went in for what was supposed to be a simple surgery. And I remember kissing him before he went into the operating room and saying, I'll see you on the other side. And I had no idea at the time that the other side was the big other side. So yeah, there were complications during surgery, and massive blood loss, heart attack, and they couldn't bring him back. So
I'm so sorry. And then what do you do?
I think it's hard because in the beginning you're just numb. Yeah. It is so surreal. It's so surreal. And there's the shock, and there's and these just crazy sensations, you know, leaving, saying goodbye to him. Yeah. Afterwards, you know, they cleaned him all up, and I came in, and the surprise that is, I knew him alive, and now I'm looking at a body, mm-hmm. and the life is gone, mm-hmm. And weird things like, you know, well, how long could I sit there and say goodbye before I actually had to leave? Mm-hmm. So grateful, you know, my sister was there, my daughter was there, his son from a previous marriage had flown in, so there were people, but still it's like you're in this bubble. Yeah. And I was trying to think of how to describe the grief in the beginning, because there's such a sensation that you want to pull it out of you, that you want to like scrape it off of you, and you can't separate yourself from this sensation. It is really quite indescribable. Yeah. So the first days are just survival. Yeah. You know, and the to-dos about, you know, he had to go to a coroner because it happened at the hospital, all the logistics. Then the financial implications, you know, which on one hand feel so wrong to be thinking about, and yet he was the main breadwinner. Mm-hmm. And it was like, what are my resources? Mm-hmm. And then it's just the day-to-day of, you know, in the beginning I took some sleeping pills to help with the sleep. I'm not really an alcohol drinker, so that didn't help much, but there is that sense of how do you just give yourself room to breathe.
What did you do
during
the day when you weren't trying to sleep? to help ease that pressure?
So I had my practices, if you will. I'm a writer, so I would journal. I journaled a lot.
Yeah.
Living near the ocean, I'd go down to the beach and just cry.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something so comforting about
Yeah.
that, being
Yeah.
down at the water's edge and being able to, like, having the sound of the waves just capture the sobs.
That's a beautiful image.
So that helped. Also moving. There was, the movement was, it felt like it was a way, like the emotions were a physical thing in my body. And moving felt like for a little bit, I could almost like flush it out.
Yeah. What kind of movement would you do?
So I'm not a trained dancer, but it was a lot of stretching. I had taken some tantric dancing for a while, so very much in the hips and the arms. And then it would be that combination of music and the movement, and sometimes an intention like, please let me just release some of this. But it feels like you do it and you get a little bit of a reprieve, and then hours later it's like it just fills back up again, and you go through another round, and that's what it feels like. It's just round after round of clearing and moving and clearing and moving. And then friends and family who'd come over and do their best.
Did you feel supported?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I think at the end of the day, we are alone with our grief.
Was your daughter living here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was actually living elsewhere, but after he died, she moved back home.
Okay.
Moved back home for a year. So that was,
That's nice.
yeah, that was really nice. And my sister really, really came in and helped. And I was also part of a creative circle. So that was, a little bit later, maybe 2-3 months later, 3-4 months later.
Still pretty fresh.
Yeah, but having this beautiful sacred circle, all women, and being able to share what I was writing. And then actually I ended up posting on Facebook a lot of the writings. I guess for me they are catharsis.
Yeah.
Being able to share. And it's interesting because years later, I'm writing a book with these writings, but in the moment, it was a way to move it, a way to share it, a way to try to find words for what really have no words.
Yeah. When did you notice a shift in that, when that beginning phase of grief started to shift into something softer and a little bit more ease and a little bit more integrating with yourself more in the world, life more? Was it gradual, or did it feel like there was a flip, the switch?
It's the back and forth.
Yeah.
Good days, bad days, and the sense that after a while there are a few more good days than there were. Like in the beginning, it's just bad days. Just bad days.
How long do you think that lasted?
I don't know. 2-3 months, maybe. And then those weird moments where you're sitting with a friend and you laugh for the first time and you go, oh my God, I laughed. And how weird that is. How could I laugh after having just gone through what I've just gone through? And also in the beginning, it's like, it's the very first thought every time you get up, it's the last thought when you go to bed, and it's always there.
Yeah.
Eventually I had to go back to work. So that was actually, I was so grateful I didn't have to work immediately, that I had some breathing time, but it was also something that gave me structure, something that made me think about something else. and also hard in the beginning when you go to work for the first day and everybody's looking at you and they don't know what to say and it's awkward and uncomfortable. And then eventually, we move past through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say maybe 2-3 months of the intense, always there, and then it's a gradual and it's an on and off thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes pushing myself to be in a social situation, and sometimes going, nope, not happening. Yeah. What did help is I did find a therapist. So that was
Excellent.
That was really, really helpful, because your friends can only do so much. Your family
Right.
can only do so much before you start feeling like, aren't they tired of hearing me talk about this all the time?
Yeah.
And then I joined a grief group called Our House. And that was also helpful because I wasn't alone in it. And I could hear how other people were dealing with it, and that sense of trying to find that balance between what I needed, and it felt good to be able to offer something to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's about me, but it's also, can I take, and I've actually found that message to grow stronger as the pain has eased, which is, what have I learned from this? How has my heart changed that I can talk to someone differently than I would have before? So with more empathy, with more understanding, with more courage.
Yeah.
I think we're afraid to talk about death.
Right. Our culture's not death friendly.
No. So yeah, it's uncomfortable. You don't know what to say. Is it worse to ask somebody how they're doing, or to pretend it didn't happen, which is,
So if you saw that as a portal of transformation for you, how would you say you've changed? Had that experience, how did that change you in your holistic, like your spirit, your psyche, your experience of the world, of life, your philosophies?
So many ways. The first one that comes to mind is that our time here is so limited. So the invitation, and I don't always follow it, but the invitation in how I live my life, is this how I want to live my life? Am I doing what matters? And having this, having been born into basically a creative family, it is definitely my karma, if you will, or my dharma, this creative path. And so looking at how losing him and my transformation feeds that creativity. Ended up doing a one-woman show. I created a journal about gardening. I found that the words that came out during that time were so raw, so truthful. And it's this weird paradox. On one hand, it was so horrible to go through, and on the other hand, the writing that came out of it was so glorious. And it's weird saying that about my own work, but it was like, I read it now and it's like, oh my God, to have captured those moments, that experience, was a gift. And also then that, I had been married for over half my life. So all of a sudden being a woman, independent on my own, and realizing I could do it, I could survive, I could thrive, I could build a business, I could build a community on my own. So the pride there, that sense of accomplishment.
Empowerment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
empowerment.
Yeah.
And then just things I've done since then. I started dancing, which if he'd been home, maybe I'd go once a week, but I go 3-4 times a week now, and there's no guilt, there's no compromise, there's no explaining, there's no accountability. So yeah,
You mentioned earlier that you felt it made you pay more attention to how you lived your life now, being more aware of mortality. How does something like that shift your perspective of what is important about life purpose or how to live your life?
I think there's the easy ones, like you get invited to an event or you're asked to do something, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't light me up. That doesn't. And the big one, and I've noticed that in certain situations where it's like, for example, a meeting that goes on for too long, and there's this intense sense of, this is a waste of my time. And that, like it's sand slipping through an hourglass. This is a waste of my time. And it's not that we can make the changes overnight. We can't just, or I haven't found the courage yet, just quit my job and go off and, be a writer. And I actually love my job, so that's not fair either. But I know certainly with things that do resonate, that do light me up, it's like making the time for that, carving out the time, being more discerning with the yes and the no, and with what I invite, the joy that is, I call it following the bubbles. They say follow the breadcrumbs. Well, for me, it's bubbles. And when I first discovered salsa dancing, and it was like I took the first classes, and it was like, oh my God, this makes me so happy. And so maybe it's honoring the things, celebrating the things, making sure that we carve out the time, choosing ourselves. And then I think the other big piece then is also the shift in the dialogue with other people. I remember I had gone out with a girlfriend. We went to a concert, and it wasn't very good, and we were leaving early, and there was this other woman that we struck up a conversation with us, and somehow, I call it magic, she shared that she had just lost her dog. And I could feel how painful that was. And I felt so honored that she had shared it. And that I could listen to her. And from a heart place rather than a head place, offer her compassion and comfort. And shared, that I had lost my husband. But it is those moments of sharing with someone heart to heart. They're such a gift. Such a gift. So.
Thank you for sharing all that.
You're welcome.
I may want to include a link to the group Our House.
Sure.
In this, and I don't know if there were any other resources that you would recommend for other people working with the similar experiences, if there were any books or any other just tools, easy to access tools that you
the books
recommend.
were hard. I actually couldn't read any books, which is interesting because people send you books thinking that it will help. In the beginning, you're just too raw, and then later on, you don't want to go back. So, once again, interesting paradox.
It's appropriate. You just worked your way through that experience on your own. You don't need to.
Yeah. But everybody's different, and the resources they need are different.
Yeah.
And I would say that for me, that was the perfect balance of having the individual place where I could talk, for 60 minutes. I could just talk and cry, and but then also having the group. So both of those felt like they really helped support that. And then whatever, I think one of the huge things I learned is that we're all individuals. We all have our own way through it. We all have our own timing. I would hear stories of people, 2 weeks later, they'd sell their house and they'd move to, France. And that was how they dealt with the grief. And that we have to let people do what they need, and not go, well, that's not how I would do it, because no, it's not how we would do it. So I think that was the other big thing, was just tolerance for other people's journeys, just how we each, and it speaks bigger than just, after they die. It's how we get to live our lives, is we each get to choose, make our own choices, and really nobody should judge.
Was there anything else you'd like to
add
to this session?
I'm really grateful for this conversation.
So grateful.
Yeah, because we don't talk about it. And it's like we're afraid of dying, which I understand, but we're also afraid of the depth of emotion that it calls up. And it's hard in a society where we're all supposed to be perfect and, happy. Where is there room? Where is there space for us to be having this conversation?
Absolutely. It's so important.